Midnight at the Golden Arches. It begins with something as ordinary as a McDonald's. A glowing set of golden arches on the edge of a deserted highway. Everyone has driven past one late at night, neon humming, a strange comfort against the emptiness of the road. But when the lights flicker, when the shadows don't quite match the walls, that comfort rots into something else. Something you should have never stepped inside. The first story is whispered by former employees. A small-town McDonald's in Ohio that shut down in the late 1990s, boarded up after renovations, never seemed to end. Teenagers dared each other to break in. They said the fryers still hissed though no one plugged them in. The cash registers lit up by themselves, spitting out receipts with nothing but dates of deaths printed on them. The boys who snuck in one night, only 2 walked out. The third was found weeks later in the freezer, eyes wide open, skin blue, mouth frozen mid-scream. No frostbite. No signs of struggle. Just fear. The second tale comes from Florida. A McDonald's built next to an old cemetery. Customers swore the drive-thru intercom whispered back even before they spoke, repeating their names. At night, employees heard children giggling in the play area after hours. One manager stayed late to close, and when he checked the cameras, every slide, every ball pit, was filled with pale faces staring up at the lens. He quit the next morning, left his keys on the counter, and no one has heard from him since. The restaurant still stands, but locals say if you order after midnight, your receipt prints with a number, counting down one by one, every time you visit. The third story drips from urban legend, but too many workers confirm it. Somewhere in Texas, a 24-hour McDonald's served a customer that no one could ever describe clearly. The man always sat at the same booth, never touched his food, never blinked. When the staff checked the tapes, the booth was empty. Yet in person they swore he was there, hands folded, eyes burning. One new employee made the mistake of asking him if everything was okay. That night, she woke to the smell of fries burning, her house filled with smoke. She tried to escape, but the doors were locked from the outside. The fire never touched her. Yet in the mirror, black grease stains marked her skin as if something oily had pressed its hands across her face. She didn't last a week at that job. Then comes the fourth, Chicago, 2003. A McDonald's worker stayed late, counting tills in the manager's office. The security feed behind her flickered, showing the dining room empty. But when she glanced up, the tables were filled with people, every seat taken. Their mouths moved in silence, chewing, tearing, swallowing, but the food in their hands was raw, dripping red. She looked back at the screen, empty again. She called the police, hysterical. They found her locked inside, slumped over the counter, every bone in her hand crushed as though she'd gripped something so tightly it broke her own fingers. And then the last story for tonight. The McDonald's that breathes. New Jersey, late shift. Employees swore the building itself inhaled and exhaled, glass trembling in its frames, walls expanding and contracting like lungs. One man leaned against the wall near the freezer, only to feel it ripple beneath him, warm like flesh. He never returned to work. They say if you stand outside that McDonald's at 3 a.m., you can hear it breathing. And if you listen closely between the gasps, you'll hear something else, something whispering your name from the dark. These aren't just stories, they're warnings, and you've just heard them. But remember, by listening, you've stepped into the arches yourself. The fryers hiss, the intercom crackles, and the shadow in the corner booth just looked up. If you think this was terrifying, you're nowhere near prepared for what comes next. Make sure you subscribe because this nightmare isn't over. It's only just beginning. The entity behind the arches. The first story unsettled you. The second you shrugged off as coincidence. By the third, you felt a chill on your neck. But by the time the fifth ended, something inside you already shifted. You shouldn't have listened. You shouldn't still be here. Because what they never tell you is that McDonald's wasn't built on just highways and convenience. It was built on something older. Something that feeds not only on flesh, but on the very act of being remembered. It began decades ago when the first late-night restaurants opened across America. Workers whispered of a customer who never ordered, who never paid, who only watched. His face was always the same no matter which city. Blank. Pale. His eyes too wide, too patient. They called him the Watcher. No security footage ever captured him, but every diner swore he sat in the corner booth. And when the restaurants closed down, he never left. He just shifted, moving to the next golden arches that rose up, stronger, brighter, hungrier. One crew in Michigan tried to tear down an old McDonald's for renovations. When the bulldozer struck the foundation, it shrieked, steel splitting, glass shattering. But witnesses swore they heard something else. A scream, not of metal, but of something alive. The foreman vanished that night, his trailer door left swinging in the wind. His hard hat was found miles away, deep inside a swamp. He'd never been there before, yet his name was written on the mud, in letters too large for any human hand. Another time in California, employees closed up after 2 a.m. They stacked chairs, wiped counters, locked doors. Yet in the morning, every chair was down, the tables were smeared with grease and trays lined up neatly at the counter. The cameras? Blank between 2:03 and 2:34. A gap. As though someone, or something, had stepped into the wires and burned out the memory. When the district manager reviewed the footage frame by frame, he found one shot, just one. Every seat in the dining room full, all the customers staring straight into the camera, eyes black and mouths dripping with something thick and red. You think these are just stories, but you know better now. You felt it creeping in, haven't you? That tightness in your chest, that whisper when you pause the video and swear the sound still lingers. Because the watcher isn't bound to the arches anymore. He's bound to the stories themselves. Every retelling gives him shape, every frightened listener gives him strength. And now you've given him your attention. That's all he ever needed. Listen closely. Do you hear it? The hum like a fryer that shouldn't be on? That faint crackle like an intercom opening before you speak? Don't look around too quickly. Don't glance at the shadows moving in your peripheral vision. He's patient, but he's close now. You fed him with your fear, your heartbeat pounding faster with each word. The final horror isn't in Ohio or Florida or New Jersey. It's not in a building you can avoid. It's here now in your space. When this story ends, he will not stay trapped in these words. He will follow you because you've listened too long. You've opened the door. You feel it already, the air colder, heavier. That faint smell of burnt oil, of fries gone rancid. That's him. When you sleep tonight, he'll sit at the corner of your room the same way he sat in the booth. Watching. Waiting. And in the silence, when you think you're safe, you'll hear it, the soft crinkle of a paper bag, the sound of food being unwrapped, and a voice, low and hungry, whispering your name. You're not alone anymore. And now, neither am I. If you dare to know more, if you dare to go deeper, don't forget to hit subscribe. You'll need it, because once the arches open for you, they never close.